There we go. So due to all the overwhelming positive response to the workplace gossip video, the feedback I've been getting from folks is, all right, we obviously need to deal with it, but can you break it down a little more specifically on how do you actually gather feedback from your employees, which is essentially opening the can of worms of all the issues that people have in the workplace. And this is an area that I have gotten a little bit of pushback from clients through the years when we have issues in the workplace, dissatisfaction among the ranks, like poor employee morale. If we go and start soliciting feedback, is this just going to become a big old complaint fest? Is this now going to be where the employees feel that they can say whatever they want to us and go off and, run with it when we work really hard to give them this great workplace? And right now, you've got to stay focused on what is my intention here. My intention is to eliminate all the workplace gossip and that swirl that is truly getting in the way of doing the job every day. And so don't be focused on, I give them such a great work environment, how dare they. Y'all got to let that slide for now because you've got other things that you need to be doing. So how do I literally do the process of gathering the feedback to turn this whole ship around? How do you open this can of worms? All right, it is a process. So the first thing you do is you explain in full transparency to everyone, face to face as much as possible, what you're doing. And you're going to go out and be like, hey there, I am, we are gathered here today. I'm gathering y'all around because we want to make sure that we have this best workplace possible. With that said, we're going to start doing some feedback sessions from y'all to gather what we're doing well, what we need to do better. And we're going to be doing this in small groups. And we want everyone's, full open transparency. There's not going to be any retaliation, but if there's something going on, this is a chance for us to learn about it. So you give them some context, okay? And so you do these small group meetings, whatever makes sense for the organization, but you need to do it small enough where people will be able to speak up. If you're doing it with 30 people, that's a lot to manage. 10, 15... I do not recommend a survey because then you first off, not everybody's going to respond. You can't retone. They get kind of keyboard warrior mode, and everyone's like, okay? And we don't need to invite that. And you want to control the messaging. And so a lot of people don't want to do these roundtable sessions where we're gathering feedback because they're afraid of what's going to come out of it. But when you are the one running the meetings, you are in control of the messaging. Now, is it more ideal to have someone else do it so people can speak a little more freely? Yes, it is, okay? But not everybody's necessarily in that position. But you need somebody that is able to gather the feedback in a way that's very controlled, very objective, and you also really want to be very clear that when we're gathering the feedback in these sessions, we're not solving. We're not solving. You're going to keep repeating that. So the way you gather feedback is you give people buckets to fill out, buckets of brainstorming. It's going to be, what do we want to start doing? What do we want to stop doing? And what do we want to see continued? And it needs to be action items. It can't be like we have too many meetings. It's like, okay, well, what's the start? Maybe the start is start evaluating every meeting's purpose and then move on from there. That might be the start. That might be the action item. Or maybe we all know that meeting on Friday afternoon has got to go. So that becomes a stop. Eliminate Friday afternoon meeting. So everything comes out as an action item. Now you might say, well, isn't that solving? No, it might be, because that's an easy one. That's a low-hanging fruit. It could be evaluate project timeline reporting system. And everyone's like, it's convoluted, it's complicated. Okay, great. So our action item is to evaluate it. It could be that there's the phone coverage is just inconsistent and always winds up being the same person that handles all the incoming calls. So in that case, it's going to be evaluate phone call coverage system. So we're not going to solve in that moment. The reason you're emphasizing we're not solving in the moment, because that's going to keep us from getting in the weeds. So when you go to do these feedback sessions, have ground rules. Like, we're going to stay out of the weeds. We're going to document things that we don't know where they fit in. Even if we can't find a place for them, we're going to document it. That we speak respectfully. You're going to set them up for success. So they're willing to talk to you, okay? So once you get all your feedback done in your small groups, then with your leadership team, you, and whatever's appropriate to be part of those conversations, you then chunk all of the action items into related content buckets. Like, this is about customer service, or this is about this department. This is about third shift. This is really dealing with management communication. So start chunking it all together, all right? And then deciding your solving strategy, all right? You may not be able to solve everything as leaders. You might be able to get some of it blueprinted out. And by the way, you're going to tell people going into this, okay, we are going to go, this process is gather your feedback. We're going to organize it. We're going to try to do our best to solve, but we're not going to be able to do it all. We're going to have to go back to you and work with you on this. They're going to love that because they're going to feel like you're listening to them. So you're going to go back, and this is really hard because you're going to hear the feedback, and some of it's going to not feel great, and it might feel ungrateful, but the only way to fix it is to know about it, okay? So you're going to invite this so then you can circle back. So then you have the report out meetings, and it's like, okay, this is the part of our strategy. This is our solve strategy. You're going to put ownership. You're going to put dates, deadlines, when we're going to start looking at this. And that sort of becomes your like mini strategic action planning session. And that's where you're going to build an action plan for the next, like 12 months, all right? And that also shows everybody like, wow, this takes longer to fix than we thought. This takes a rollout strategy. In that strategy planning time with your team, you don't have to have small groups. You can do that to the larger group. You're going to invite folks, if there's something we missed in this, please let us know. If you know there are sensitive or hot button issues, then go seek out that department and follow up with them one-on-one. But when you offer the opportunity to gather feedback from people and hear it out without getting defensive, and that's hard to do, but you hear it, and then you say, this is how we're going to respond to it, and this is the stuff we can't fix. So you're going to say, well, Julie, they want this, and we can't give that to them. Then that is when you put a pin in it. And you're like, okay, let's just be really clear, y'all. This is not going to be able to change. So people then need to be coached to work through the disappointment of not getting something that they really want, and give them the skill to understand that sometimes in the work environment, it's not going to work out the way we want, even if that really means a lot to us and our heart's really tied into that, because that's something that you as a manager, you as an owner, you as a department head have had to work through yourself. So you're not going to be mad and begrudge them for those feelings. You're going to coach them on how to cope through it by empathizing and giving them examples of how you too have had to work through that and why it's important to work through that, because otherwise you're sitting around miserable all day at work, and who wants to do that? You will lose credibility if you don't follow up on the action items, if you don't communicate it out, if you do this whole planning and it just flitters away, okay? That is a great way to be like, they don't follow up on anything. But if you go back and you keep reporting out, and you maybe have some committee work on it, and you have some of those folks showing up being part of the solution, then you've got buy-in. And the way you build credibility is to say you're going to do something and then you do it. I mean, I know, I'm a genius. And so by the mere fact that you start implementing it, or even pursuing implementing it, because the process may unfold and you're going to be like, oh my God, halfway through, y'all, this happened. But you keep them communicating, appropriately, what's appropriate for the employees to hear, what's appropriate for them not to see. There's some information that doesn't need to go out to the masses. You're going to be making those strategic decisions. And you can make a habit of doing this process every 18 months. Once you do this big one, though, the big can of worms, then it's going to be easier moving forward, and you're going to really get everybody feeling like they can keep talking to you. And I suggest even really building in some ongoing follow-up conversations. I'm a big fan of one-on-ones to nip that stuff in the bud before it gets legs of their own. That's it, y'all. You got it, right? Easy, one and done. Y'all have a great rest of your afternoon. Thanks for your time, and I'll see y'all next time. All right, bye, y'all.